I call the regular meeting to order. Please call roll.
Mayor Querom.
Here.
Commissioner, Member Swanson.
Here.
Member Mabry.
Here.
Member Fabia.
Here.
Member Newman.
Here. Please stand and join us in the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business is the swearing in of council members Ray Mabry and Ray Swanson. So if like you come up with something.
Ray Mabry, we got the seniority. Raise your right hand. I, Ray Mabry.
I, Ray Mabry,
Do solemnly swear.
do solemnly swear
That I will support the Constitution of the United States of the United States.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
And the Constitution of the State of Illinois.
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois
And the ordinances of the City of Princeton.
and the ordinance of the City of Princeton,
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of member of the City Council
of the office of a member of the City Council
of the City of Princeton, Illinois,
in the City of Princeton, Illinois,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. See you again. Glad to be back. Thanks.
Were you on?
Yeah, well,
Okay, Ray, raise your right hand. I, Ray Swanson.
I, Ray Swanson,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois
and the ordinances of the City of Princeton,
and the ordinances of the City of Princeton,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of member of the City Council
of the office of member of the City Council
of the City of Princeton, Illinois,
of the City of Princeton, Illinois,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Before we get started in tonight's meeting, I do have a statement to read. The City of Princeton hired its first city manager in 2002. And since that time, we have operated basically as a hybrid form of government, partially managerial and partly commission. As per Illinois statute, we need to be operating strictly as a managerial form of government. So beginning tonight, we will move procedurally to a strictly managerial form of government. No longer will elected representatives be referred to as commissioners. Council members will be referred to as council members. No longer will members of the council oversee city departments. Department heads will report directly to the city manager on all issues affecting their departments. If the mayor and or council members need to be involved on an issue brought before the city manager, our city manager will make those contacts. Council members will no longer read departmental invoices for council approval. So the way this will work, this will be done by our city clerk, Pete Nelson. It will then go to the mayor, who will ask for a motion, followed by voting. The reading of ordinances will also be done by our city clerk. Our city manager will then offer comments or an explanation if warranted, and then the mayor will ask for a motion and a discussion, followed by voting. We are updating the city's website with contact phone numbers, so I would ask that all council members please contact Brian Gift and provide them with a contact phone number, either a landline, cell phone, or a number of both. That's it. Any public comment? Okay, so this is going to be a trial and error for us tonight. It's the first time, so there might be some hiccups along the way. But I'm going to ask for a motion for the approval of minutes.
Mayor, I move that we approve the minutes from our regular council meeting on Monday, April 17th, 2017.
Second.
Motion's been seconded. Any corrections? Call roll.
Member Swanson.
Yes.
Member Mabry.
Aye.
Member Fabia.
Aye.
Member Newman.
Aye.
Mayor Querom.
Aye. And now we'll go to the approval of invoices, and we'll go to our city clerk.
Okay, tonight we have invoices in the Department of Public Health, Safety, and Civil Defense for the amount of $103,000 and $103,071.69. We have total invoices for the Department of Streets and Public Improvements totaling $227,109 even. We have total invoices in the Department of Public Property and Utilities in the amount of $479,338.68. And finally, we have total invoices for Public Affairs in the Department of Accounts and Finances totaling $206,388.74. These have been totally reviewed by each of the council members and are submitted to the council for disposition.
We have a motion for approval of invoices.
I move that we approve the invoices.
Second.
Motion's been seconded. Any comments or corrections? Call roll.
Member Swanson?
Aye.
Member Mabry?
Aye.
Member Fabia?
Aye.
Member Newman?
Aye.
Mayor Querem?
All right, and now we'll go to regular business, and we'll go back to the city clerk.
Okay. Who generates all this paperwork here? Tonight we have ordinance O-17-010, an ordinance amending the Princeton City Code, Chapter 9, Offenses and Miscellaneous Provisions, Article 4, Nuisances. Be it ordained by the Mayor and the City Council of the City of Princeton, Peoria County, Illinois, that the Princeton City Code, Chapter 9, Offenses and Miscellaneous Provisions, Article 4, Nuisances, be amended as follows. By deleting current code sections 9-143 through and including 9-153, all of which are currently reserved. Followed by adding new sections 9-143 through 9-153, enumerated in Exhibit A, attached here to and made a part hereof. This ordinance has been reviewed by all members and is submitted to the mayor for consideration.
Second and final. Excuse me, did you say second and final?
I'm sorry, this is the second and final reading of this ordinance.
Now, we like a motion for passage.
I move that we approve ordinance O-17-010.
Second.
Motion's been seconded. Any comments?
Being new, back up here, Mayor, I just got a few questions. I assume the past ordinance didn't have the decibel rating in it. Is that true, Chief?
That's correct.
Is that the main issue that's now in the reading, or?
It is. It's a process that we felt would be the fairest across the board for everybody. And we're just following suit with a lot of other municipalities that have already adopted the same type of noise ordinance. Okay.
And I'll just add one more comment to that. The current section that we have was only in our zoning, ordinance, or, zoning code, thank you. So this would be included in our general code too, and would apply, the different categories in there for residential, commercial, and industrial.
Okay, and correct me if I'm wrong, I was looking at the new section 9-151 exemptions from noise level restrictions, and some things that came to mind were like noises from construction, remodeling, tree trimming, all of those instances are going to have noises that, I mean, you could enforce with the way this reads right now.
Right.
If we accept it.
Yeah, but they're all covered in there with that level that they would be exempt from certain types like construction and so on. That all falls within that category. To have that leeway.
Okay.
Yeah. What we're looking at basically there, Ray, is the time limit.
Okay.
You know, to start at a certain time in the morning and then finish in the evening, and we don't go beyond that, unless it's an emergent situation.
Another question, have we had a lot of complaints lately? Is this why this is an issue now? Or?
I think we've had a few, but the biggest, point was that we just wanted to make something effective that could apply to everyone, so that if we do get future complaints too down the road, we would have something on the books and would know what we're doing if we get called out for those complaints.
Just making it fair across the board for everybody. I think that's the biggest key. Any other comments? Motion has been seconded. Call roll.
Member Swanson?
Aye.
Member Mabry?
Aye.
Member Fabia?
Aye.
Member Newman?
Aye.
Mayor Querem?
Aye.
Next on the agenda is the resolution number R-17-017. This is an IDOT resolution required by IDOT for expenditure of motor fuel tax funds for our annual road program. It reads, be it resolved by the council of the city of Princeton that there is hereby appropriated a sum of $325,000 of motor fuel tax funds for the purpose of maintaining streets and highways under the applicable provisions of the Illinois Highway Code from May 1st, 2017 through April 30th of 2018. This has been reviewed by all members and is submitted to the council for disposition.
Would entertain a motion?
Mayor, I move that we approve Resolution R-17-017, the annual motor fuel tax street maintenance authorization.
Correct.
Motion's been second. Rachel?
So just a few comments on this. This is IDOT's approval so that we can expend MFC funds in the next fiscal year. However, all projects will still have to go out for bid and be awarded from this amount. A portion of this money will go towards our street repair program for fiscal year 17-18.
Thank you. Any other comments? Motion has been second. Call roll.
Member Swanson?
Aye.
Member Mabry?
Aye.
Member Fabia?
Aye.
Member Newman?
Aye.
Mayor Querem?
Aye.
Next is the bid for the Pleasant Street parking lot resurfacing. Somewhere I have that in here. Yeah. So a bid opening occurred on Thursday, April 27th at 10 a.m. The apparent low bidder was Advanced Asphalt. The contractor's bid was $129,286.70. The approved estimate was $134,171.10. So the contractor's bid came in at $4,884.40 under the engineer's estimate. There were no irregularities, and all the pre-qualification was established. So this is submitted to the council for disposition.
Entertain a motion for passage.
Okay, Mayor, I move that we accept this low bid from Advanced Asphalt.
Correct.
Motion's been second. Rachel?
So just a few comments on this. Our budget for this project was around $110,000. Unfortunately, as you can see, it came in over budget. This was partially because we had planned to do a mill of the current parking lot, and there was no base once, they looked at it, so that's going to be a little more expensive, as well as the alley. However, we're just going to put a binder on the alley this year in case of settlement with the sewer repairs that just took place, and then the surface layer will be completed next year. So that should reduce, so the full estimate is for treatment of the whole alley, but since we're only going to do the binder, that should reduce that by something. Still might be a little over budget, but hopefully we can work within that.
Now, we had the surprise of the sewer collapse, and that necessitated us ripping up the entire alley and having to repave it, so that was a surprise. Any other comments?
I know you guys had this in the budget to begin with, and of course the sewer was a surprise. Was the alley originally to be repaved?
Well, the original budget didn't include the alley, but then when we knew the alley would have to be repaved too, which was before the fiscal year, we did include that.
Okay. I guess another question I had too is, why are we prioritizing parking lots? We've got so many streets. And I'm just saying, from what I hear and the people that I've talked to, especially throughout the campaign, streets are a major issue. And not being through the budget, not being on the council at the time, I guess, I would have liked to really see a couple more years of really hard looks at the streets and getting ahead on the streets first before we're going forward with parking lots.
Well, the parking lots are city-owned as well, and they have to be maintained gravel shape. The one at the corner of Main and Elm is gravel. We do have an ordinance that does not allow for gravel parking lots in the city. That parking lot should have been probably done back when the council transformed that into a parking lot, and it wasn't. So that parking lot has to be done by ordinance, and again, the one behind the company is in very bad shape, had to be taken care of it.
And I understand now that they've done the sewer work, it's in much worse shape, but did someone advise us that, hey, this parking lot should be prioritized, or?
Yeah, I'll comment on that quickly. So Quinn has worked really closely with the engineers on the 20-year street plan, and in that, we look at all city parking lots too, because the further we delay those, the further they cost down the road as well. So we're looking, as well as a seal coating program for the parking lots and the streets so that we can maintain our streets longer. I think, like the mayor said, there's a lot behind this company, and like you said too, with all the equipment on it, it's just in really, really bad shape now.
Another question, since I know we got surprised by Firestone also, did they end up trenching to the alley? It's kind of hard to tell what all was done or not.
They did a new service line from Firestone to the manhole in the alley.
Is that another issue with settlement, where should that sit?
We can talk about that, and unfortunately our engineers couldn't be here tonight, but we can bring that up.
Yeah, Ray, I don't think it will be an issue, because that's gonna be fully compacted from down to where the sewer is all the way up, and they'll compact it as it lifts as they go. I really don't foresee that being a problem.
Pretty straight shot, or?
Yeah, they're gonna go right straight to a manhole is where they're gonna go. So where they're at now, they're gonna just make a beeline right to the manhole, which is behind, the company, right at the alley.
And that trench isn't very wide, it's only
No,
5, 6 feet,
just
maybe
need
the
to
most.
get a compactor in there.
Okay. Like I said, it's hard to tell, you see a lot of gravel in there and loose stuff, so just hearing secondhand, and that was hooked to a septic tank, I believe.
You know what, I don't know what they found out.
That was not determined, it was not determined.
Of course, that's our cost as a city.
That's not correct, actually, the service line, but I'm in conversations with them to determine what's going on.
Like I say, it's a hard pill to swallow when looking at the $600,000 that we have budgeted for this fiscal year on streets, and which is called a parking lot. Almost a third of the cost is going towards 2 parking lots, almost $200,000. It's a tough pill to swallow.
Well, again, they're in bad shape, and we have to pay the one up at Main and Elm by ordinance, and, we have to maintain our parking lots. They are used every day by, residents that work and shop, as well as out-of-town visitors who come to town. So.
Okay, keep going. I know that we're looking at a possible grant for a parking lot behind the Spoons area. What makes that parking lot possibly qualify for a grant?
So we had originally looked at doing 3 parking lots with that grant. However, once we got the estimates back for how much they would all cost, and then we looked at what we would be awarded through the grant, which was only $100,000, it didn't make sense for us to spend $300,000 on parking lots. So then the sewer collapse happened, so we kind of moved the priority of the company up to this year, and then if the grant is awarded, it would happen next fiscal year. So that's kind of how those got moved around.
Did we look at any historical type grants, and maybe they don't even exist on the Elm Place parking lot? Could that be bricked? Is there anything out there?
Yeah, so we have looked at some of those. I know we're looking into an ITEP grant for the depot campus and that parking lot, and, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of grants out there, but we could look into some of that.
And the grant up there behind the Spoon works well, because that parking lot there, I think, is a little over an acre. It's a huge project, so that grant's going to help. We get it, it's going to help us immensely.
We've applied already, it's in the process.
We should hear on that later this year.
If I could add, Mayor, it's always a delicate balance, because in the old days, when I was the commissioner over streets and sanitation, I guarantee I catch a lot of flack over things in those departments. But it's a balance we have to come up with, and so the parking lot, Ray, bring up good thoughts. I think it's a prudent decision. One of the things about the parking lot that we picked, there's a number of
dumpsters back there, and it's what we call these grease pots, where these businesses that are restaurants dispose of their used grease in them, and they're kind of were helter-skelter in the back there. And this is gonna be, part of the plan is to have these pads set up with some, concealment around them, whether, I don't know if it's chain link fence or if it's concrete block, but they're gonna be able to have the, business owners then put their dumpsters in those areas. And that'll be a nice, look once we get that achieved too. So it's like painting a house. You know, we wanna paint the front of the house, but we also gotta paint the back of the house. We gotta kind of just have a balancing act here. And so, I guess I understand where you're coming from on the dollar amount, and I'm hoping that in 2018-19, that we'll be able to get some more significant dollars back to the street department for some additional, paving of the city streets.
Yeah, and speaking of that, our target beginning this year, over the next 3 years, is to repave at least 22 streets in Princeton, and at least 3 parking lots, the 2 this year and the one behind schools next year, and hopefully, the depot parking lot, if we get the ITEP grant.
What was that time frame, sorry?
Beginning this year, over the next 3 years. So ending in 2019, through 2019.
If we are declined for the grant, for behind the schools, parking lot behind the schools, is it a debt issue with that parking lot, or are we going to repave it under our money?
Well, that would be a next fiscal year decision, so I think we'd wait until we see if the grant was awarded, and then if it's not awarded, we'd probably have to reevaluate, maybe push that on a year, or reapply for the grant.
Another question on the Pleasant parking lot. So we were unaware there was a base in there.
Right, we had assumed there was base, so there was not.
I was wondering if it was bad enough and there were potholes, how did an engineer not catch this?
I'm not sure, unfortunately, they're not here to answer that, but I can get back to
Okay,
you.
it's just another thing too behind Spoons, I think that needs looked into. Is there a base back there, or what kind of costs are we gonna have that's gonna pop up then for that?
We can have them check that.
That parking lot behind the company, you know, it was wavy. I mean, it was a terrible shape. I mean, you could not drive through there and not be jostled, you know, sitting in your car. It was just a terrible shape. It's like 6 feet of black dirt, and then, 6 inches of gravel?
Inches of CH6, and then the rest is dirt. So that's why it's wavy.
And we're gonna restrict that parking lot from truck usage. Garbage trucks obviously will go back, but they'll use the alley, but we're going to enforce and make sure that, no truck usage in that parking lot for longevity.
Could they use the alley, or is that gonna affect them?
They can use the alley, like Ray said, those dumpsters are gonna be up against the alley. They're gonna meet the alley, so they'll be able to come down the alley and just back in right there. They won't have to use the parking lot. Any other comments? The motion has been seconded. Call roll.
Member Swanson?
No.
Member Mabry?
Aye.
Member Fabia?
Aye.
Member Newman?
Aye.
Mayor Querem?
Aye. We'll go to the city manager report. I only have one item tonight. Actually, we were talking about the company parking lot, and we do have the plans for that. They will be out here, or maybe in here, I don't know, after the meeting, so if anybody's interested in looking at them, after the meeting, you'll be able to. Any old business? Any new business?
Mayor, if I could, when I think the city did real well over the weekend, and I don't wanna jinx this whole thing, but I know the street department, working with the sewer department, they pre-positioned some pumps in some critical areas, and I know that the street department, as well as the sewer department, was out over the weekend verifying that those manholes were not surcharging or what we call overflowing. So I think we lucked out in so many ways. There was just a couple of isolated instances where we had some issues, and some of it's because of some roots that were in the line and things like that, or some debris, and so all of a sudden the extra water aggravates the situation. So we really did quite well, I think, overall. And I appreciate the departments going out and working over the weekend on some of those issues and resolving them right away to the satisfaction of those homeowners. I had 2 homeowners call me on Saturday concerned, and the street department / sewer department both there at the residences working with those issues, and the homeowners were overall happy, if you can be happy, when you start having issues with sewer. issue. The other thing I'd like to say is, so the non-after-hours number to call, if you have a utility issue, whether it be electric, water, sewer, and this is not something that you'd be calling 911, it's a after-hours number that you can call, and Rachel had mentioned it's on the city's website. The number is 879-8066, 879-8066. That's after hours when City Hall would not be open or on weekend, and that number goes to a dispatch system, and then they route your concern to the appropriate department. So I think overall, it was a pretty good weekend considering.
Yeah, the city staff, city department, and all the employees of the city always do a wonderful job. And for whatever reason, these storms we get always come at night, and they come on the weekends. So, go figure. But we were very lucky this time. We got a lot of rain, but it was spread out over such a long period of time, and, very fortunate. But again, thank you to the city staff and department heads and all employees that got out and addressed the issues. Any other new business?
Quick question, I don't know if John could answer this. I noticed you guys have had some executive sessions recently. Is there any way we could have an executive session next meeting, just so I get up to speed on everything, or is that not acceptable?
Yeah.
I just know if it's gonna be related to some issues that I'll be involved in.
I assume it would be to discuss real estate sales, is that the one you're?
I believe so.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we'll put it on the
We can put it
agenda.
on the agenda.
I appreciate that.
Any other new business? Any public comment? Becker, just need your name.
Good evening, everybody. Hector? I don't need that. First off, I want to say congratulations to everybody here, especially the members. Regarding the parking lot, it is a big expense, but I also believe that in order to have a business and people to come to your business, you have to have something that's proper so they can get in and out. The stores have to work so that businesses don't back up. Also, in turn, the more people you have coming to your business, the more revenues you're going to generate, which in turn helps both businesses and City of Princeton. Two, I just wanted to ask, if this grant is not awarded, or it's less than what was requested, what is the plan that we're going to do with it?
Well, that would be going back and, again, we're gonna find out if we get this grant later this year, probably in the fall. But if we don't get the grant, then we're just going to have to reevaluate our position going forward as we enter our new fiscal year, which is a year from now.
The parking lot that we approved tonight is not the one we applied for the grant for.
Right,
Yeah.
I know, okay, I was listening. What I wanted to know if it's 50% of what you were awarded originally, are we gonna go ahead and put that money into reserves to go into the next fiscal year, or are we gonna work on other roads that need to be worked?
Yeah, that'll be something we'll have to evaluate, next year, but it probably, I would think, go back into streets.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Mayor, if I may comment to dovetail with that, one of the things that I know you're working hard with, and Rachel's done a great job, is you're working to build up your reserves again. And we're trying to build the reserves so when we do have something like a block of city sanitary sewer basically collapse on us, and we have to spend $80,000 or $100,000, we got a little money squirreled away to do that. And, we spent roughly $100,000 on just a block and a half of sewer work. I mean, that was sanitary and storm, but it's expensive. Man, that's a lot of money, but it had to be done. So.
Yeah, and we're still targeting, this fiscal year going forward, that we are putting back into reserves. We're able to put back into reserves $400,000. And, we're gonna continue to build, that's our focus. We're not gonna be taking on, we have no plans whatsoever to take on any long-term debt. By this time next year, over a 3-year period, we will expect to have reduced our long-term debt by $11.2 million in 3 years. And, that's what we're striving for. Pay our debt down, get our reserves built up, bring more people to town, obviously, shop in our stores, increase our sales tax revenue, which feeds our street department, and allows us to do a lot more street work than we are able to. And as I mentioned earlier, our target is to do 22 streets at least, and at least 3 parking lots in the next 3 years, and hopefully, we'll be able to increase that.
I'm assuming that emergency sewer work came from some reserve money we did have.
not, it came from some budget line items, but I can get you the exact numbers and amounts, that we had not spent this fiscal year. There was about $40,000 left in capital projects because our long-term sewer control plan came under budget, and then another $30,000 will be coming from this fiscal year.
I would also like to see, I think, immediate attention on catch basins. Ray has brought up several times. They're in sad shape a lot in the city, and there's a lot of horses over them. I think we should pay immediate attention to those.
Yeah, that's part of our summer maintenance. Clint, can you address that?
Yeah, we definitely have a long list of catch basins. We're just finding time to get there, and it'll be soon. Probably after this junk week, which after next week, we'll probably get a couple guys on them to start repairing them. And, you know, where we're gonna be doing these street maintenance programs, the streets and the maintenance program, we'll really focus on those first, and the broken curbs. I like to get a lot of curbs repaired before we pave. And then we'll jump out and, yeah, we have a list. So.
Curbs all over the city, or just where we're
Just where we're
repairing
gonna
them?
pay for now, yeah.
Okay.
Just so when they get there to pave it, you know, we don't have to tear up Blue Street to curb it. So there's.
It's like Vernon Street.
Yeah, Vernon, Town Church, Thompson's good, but yeah, there's various places here that are gonna have to replace them.
Did you purchase the sign machine yet?
Today. Ordered it today.
So we'll be able to make our own signs, and that's gonna be a big cost savings to the city.
Yeah, it sure will.
Get rid of your feet.
Clint, have we got the hot mix patch box yet, or?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kudos to you all on that,
Yeah,
investment.
This will be
It's a great
heated.
thing.
This will be heated by the exhaust system, so we have to do a little modifying on the exhaust, which is minor. Once we get that modified, it sits on, hooks up to the exhaust, and that's what heats it. We're using a UPM material. It's not this cold patch that we used to always use. It's real tacky, and it adheres a lot better, as long as the holes are swept out, of course. And so we're trying that, and we tried spot on Gossi, and I know Gossi's part of this plan, street maintenance program, but we need to do something there, and so far it's holding up. Good. We've been back there numerous times with this other stuff, so.
Good.
Any other public comment? Entertain a motion to adjourn to our next meeting.
I move that we adjourn to our next regular council meeting on Monday, May 15th, 2017, 7 o'clock here at City Hall.
Motion to second, call roll.
Member Swanson?
Aye.
Member Mabry?
Aye.
Member Fabian?
Aye.
Member Newman?